Welcome to the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. Hey, yo, neighbors. Welcome back to episode number 53 of the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. And as always, I'm your host, Neighbor Nate. And today we are continuing our preview of the upcoming Watermelon Pickers Festival. This is a long-standing festival that combines bluegrass and roots music and progressive newgrass or jamgrass, if you will. And it's happening September 4th to the 6th at the Clark County Fairgrounds in Berryville, Virginia. My guest today is an incredibly talented mandolin player and the primary songwriter for his band Fireside Collective. He and his bandmates just played a banger of a show in Snowshoe, West Virginia at 4848 just a few weeks back. So I am delighted to have Jesse Iaquinto join the podcast today. Hey, Jesse, I really appreciate you joining the podcast today. So welcome to Music Festivals podcast. How's it going?
It's going well.
Yeah.
Stoked to be here, and thanks for having me.
That's cool. I have to mention this before the call. We were talking and your daughter's around and she's cute as hell. But tell me a little bit about like the family and where you guys live and you know, what you do when you're not playing bluegrass.
Yeah, so we're based in Asheville, North Carolina, down here in the Southern Blue Ridge Mountains. I got a 5-year-old daughter named Rose and my wife, Kara, and our cat, Cosmo.
Nice.
And when I'm off the road, it's a lot of family time. You know, I try and soak it up as much as possible. Also try and bring them on the road because I just love festivals. I love the vibe. And I love seeing my daughter out there because, you know, the kids that end up at festivals tend to be a lot like her,
Yeah.
parents who either play music or love music, very open and sharing and loving, and not as like, sometimes the playgrounds around town, not the same as festival kids. So just love having the family there as much as possible. It's such a source of inspiration for me,
Okay.
and she was born during COVID.
Okay.
So it was kind of crazy, a year off the road, and then suddenly, back on the road and with a 1-year-old, and like it's just a whole wild experience. But there's definitely a few shows where you can see photos of Rose on stage. She'll just kind of sneak on stage at some point. I'll be in the middle of a solo and something starts tugging on my jeans, and I'm like, oh, hey,
I'll
what's
bet
up?
you the audience loves that. That's
Oh my
really
God, they're
awesome.
all,
Yeah.
you can feel it. And then the photographers all like swarm
Sure.
over.
Yeah.
She just like turns and smile, like she's very photogenic. Yeah, but when we're home, it's a lot of chilling, a lot of like she's learning to ride a bike and go hiking and fun stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
good.
it's cool, especially around the bluegrass community. It is very family focused, right? Like there's always a bunch of kids running around at these festivals and they seem to be into it. And then, 10, 15 years go by and suddenly one of them picks up a guitar or a mandolin. Do you like I know a lot of musicians don't, that you want your kids to do your own thing, but is she interested in the fact that you're a musician? Like is she curious about like what you play and stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, she from an early age responded to music. Even when she was in my wife's belly, like there was the first time that she like really kicked. Our bass player Carson and I were doing like a live stream, and it was I think it was 420, and we were doing all Dead songs,
Okay.
and it was like in the middle of like bird song or some like Dead song, and you could see her, she starts kicking, and you know once she was out here on the surface, there was very quickly like a response. We do a cover of Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road,
Yeah.
and that song I've probably heard over 1,000 times because it would literally stop her crying instantly.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
we're like driving down to Swanee Music Festival in Florida, and she's in the car with us as a 1-year-old and, making this long drive. And so, like, as soon as she start crying, just start playing that Elton John tune,
Yeah.
it literally stop every time, and then I'd, like, switch it to another song, start crying again, back to Elton John.
That's
Oh,
awesome. Yeah.
that was pretty cool, but, yeah, I mean, she's banging around on the piano right now. She's got great rhythm, like, she actually was on stage at one of our shows, and she had a shaker, and she was, like, playing in time,
Oh my
and
God.
it was really cool,
Yeah.
and, like, I showed her a G chord on her little, like, mini guitar, and she's, like, managed to remember it every time, and, I don't wanna push her into an instrument too soon, and I know sometimes the music lesson approach can be a little bit, challenging based on who it is, what the instrument is, um, but she's definitely already gravitating towards music, and, like,
Yeah.
she'll sing out of nowhere, and she's starting to get, like, pitch really good. It's
Yeah.
really cool. It's
That's
definitely
gotta get you excited too. Like, that's gotta being a musician and whatnot, seeing her, like, kinda get into it, that's gotta get you excited.
absolutely, and I mean, the festival scene and folk and Americana, like, you've got people like Joe Craven who used to play with, he played on some Jerry Garcia and David Grisman stuff. Now he's older and his like daughter is playing with him up on stage. And it's like, to me, that's just such a cool thing. Like,
Yeah.
to celebrate family and to make that a part of it. And I think it's important nowadays to discuss mental health and to be open about that stuff and to include families and try and make it work in a way that builds community and support systems, whereas a lot of times the modern work approach can be so cutthroat and fast paced that, like, you're kind of encouraged to do the opposite.
Yeah.
I would like to be a part of something that's more wholesome and considerate of everybody and their personal journeys and their families and their, mental health. So
Yeah.
to me, it's awesome to have my wife and daughter around as much as possible.
That's amazing. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about Grassfire before this, where Dell played, and I got to see them the next weekend too. And you see Dell up there with his sons, and they've been playing together for 30, 35, almost 40 years. It's like that's a really great blueprint, right? Like the guy figured it out, you know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys are going to be playing at Watermelon Picker Festival. Fireside Collective has been around for a little over 10 years, it looks like now. Um, and the band, I'm just going to read the lineup. So it's Joe Cicero, guitar vocals, you doing mandolin vocals, and your primary songwriter. And help me if I get this wrong. It's Tommy Mayer?
Yeah. He goes Tommy Marr.
Marr.
Pronounced it
Okay.
wrong,
Tommy
yeah.
Marr. Carson White on upright bass, Alex Genova banjo, and then Michael Tillis joined in 2023. And you guys added drums to the ensemble.
Yeah, so Alex, was our banjo player for a while, and, he decided to go back to go to grad school for jazz guitar,
Okay.
and so instead of bringing in another banjo player, we had always talked about adding drums anyway, and we decided, well, what better time than now? Because Alex was a phenomenal banjo player, great friend of ours. It was always a good relationship, and even sometimes when band members change, it can be weird. But for us, it was so smooth, and you know going back to like the family and the consideration of people's individual lives. It
Yeah.
was it was a very healthy, kind of changeover, and bringing in the drums was just like a chance for us to kind of dive back into our authenticity, because we love bluegrass, but none of us grew up in like these heavy bluegrass families. We kind of grew up in, you know, 90s and early 2000s TV, Total Request Live, like pop
Yeah.
culture, it was kind of refined so well at that point. But also there was some really cool music happening as far as like hip hop and, the just like punk rock and all this stuff that kind of colors our inspirations and background. We all bring a lot of different stuff to the table, so like adding drums, like we've literally played Green Day songs and 311 songs,
Nice.
as well as Grateful Dead, like George Jones. Like we try not to spread it too thin, but like a good song's a good song. And
Yeah.
if we can make it work with the way our band is set up, and I think it's kind of cool that we have, mandolin, dobro, and acoustic guitar so that when we play like a Pink Floyd song,
Yeah.
it's still that awesome song, but it's a different interpretation. And it's with the drums, it really has opened the door, not only to do all these different covers, but to dig into our original music and create a show. My dream has always been like an engaging, captivating show from start to finish.
Yeah.
I was in theater growing up, and so like I just love a good production, but I also love change and growth and evolution, which is why the jam band scene captured me so much.
Yeah.
To see the Grateful Dead from 65 to 95, it was like 20 different bands, but
Yeah.
still a common thread that remained throughout that. And to me, to like kind of balance that jam approach with like the theatrical production is kind of like what we're striving towards.
Yeah.
And the drums really have made that even more of a possibility with segues or like ending a song and the drums just kick in rather than awkward downtime. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
It's pretty amazing too. You talk about like the evolution. So in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of the new jam grass, if you would classify it as that, bring in stuff from the '90s. I see Mountain Grass Unit bringing in like Stone Temple Pilots and some Pearl Jam songs. You see Billy playing Pearl Jam songs,
yeah,
not necessarily bluegrass versions of them. But how do
yeah.
you guys make the decision of, hey, we've got this one song, we want to bridge it into something from the '90s or a classic song or vice versa? How does that work for you? How do you pick that? How do you go, you know what, that one would be good to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because like on the one hand, you've got these songs you've been wanting to bring in for years that like the right time didn't work out. And then on the other hand, you've got like driving down the road, a song pops on the radio and you're like, "Oh, we should do this." So like I try to do like a check-in with everybody in the band, and like I'll ask kind of like the primary contributors to the repertoire like to send me a small list every couple months of like what songs are like bubbling up, and then I'll typically put together a master list to the band. And when we were trying to find like a good 90s song, I made a little playlist and just like drove with a couple of the band members and were like, just I was like, whatever your first reaction is, yes or no, like go with that and let's just go down the playlist. And
Yeah.
we ended up refining it down to a couple because like one guy would be like, well, this one's maybe their most popular song. We don't want to do that. This one would be like, hey, I don't see how that would really fit into what we do. So like, it's collaborative, but it's also intentional and kind of like driven through. Like
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for an artist is to see something through to completion. I think that's like some of the greatest artists I've known in my life struggled to finish a piece. Like, even visual artists, songwriters, of course, but like always wanting to refine and never being good enough and always being like, everyone's trying to write their masterpiece every time.
Yeah.
And I learned at, not a young age, but like at some point in this process, I realized like the key to moving forward is just making decisions. You just have like there's hundreds of decisions every week that have to be made. As from like, do you take this gig to do you rotate the tires on the van?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
like all these things that like, you know, people can get hung up on. And so for me, my one of my big just kind of like driving principles is just make a decision and move forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you make a mistake, you're going to learn,
Yeah.
and it kind of goes back to that concept of like, the most successful people are the ones who failed the most amount of times. They did
Yeah.
it so many times that they got to the point where they refined it to like such a good place, but it's not because they got it right every time. It's actually probably because every time they got it wrong, they learned, they adjusted, and they kept on moving. So, like, one of our top songs is moving on down that line, and that's, it was kind of a simple little easy song I wrote sitting at home one day, but like what I realized is the way through any challenge is to not stop, not get hung up on it, like, to just keep moving and keep making those intentional decisions.
Yeah. Have you ever, as a songwriter, have you ever hit the perfection in your mind? Like, have you ever hit anything where it's like, no, you know what? We're going to stop here. This is as evolved as I want to be it. Or is it always a continuous process of, this might change a year from now?
Yeah, I mean, like, the nice thing about being a jam band is, like, even once we finish our songs, we can still add, like, we've got I've taken an intro from a different song and added it to one of our songs, and, like,
Okay.
added a jam into the middle of the song, or, like, removed a jam, and, like, I think for me, the way that I view it is, like, I try to have a good, like, perspective, and a long-term vision. So I don't see any single song as a masterpiece. I see the repertoire as, you know, as a representation of the band's artistic endeavors.
Okay.
Like, I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I'm pretty close to saying what I think is their best song, but even then, every time I almost say it, then I'm like, "Well, but then there's this one, this one, this one." So,
Yeah.
like, what even is the concept of the best song or the perfect song? Because that's mostly subjective, and,
Yeah.
so, like, at the end of the day, I try to look at the entire career as the work of art,
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
amazing.
like, and like the Grateful Dead, if you only listen to the first 5 years, if their career was just 5 years, what a completely different
Right. Yeah.
band, like acid rock, psychedelic wildness versus what they're, I'm definitely a late 70s. I love the whole career, but like to me, 77 is where it just came together and just such a perfect
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
And I also put on some 90s stuff the other day, and I'm like, to hear Bruce Hornsby on that, and like that's so different than hearing Pigpen in 67,
Yeah.
but it's awesome because it still maintains. I think their soul was very deep, and, you know, maybe because of the psychedelics, it helped break down the egos, because I think ego is probably the biggest challenge for not only artists, but humans in general. Like, how do you get to a point where you're truly doing it from your purest place and not for money or attention, or, people to view you as a certain way, like, because we all have that place inside of us, that deep, unconditioned, pure place. And, psychedelics are a way to get there. I don't think it's the only way. You can get
Yeah.
there from spirituality, meditation, yoga. You can get there from writing extremely complex music and being so consumed and wrapped up in it that you don't have time to think about yourself or whether the audience likes it or not.
Yeah.
You all those thoughts take you away from the pure experience of creating music, which to me, I started playing music when I was 3 or 4. I don't even remember a time when I started, because it was always there when I had memory. So I try to draw from that place, before it had to make money and before, any other things came into play. At its core, I loved it. It made me feel good, and I saw that, like, people liked listening to it as well. And so to me, that's such a mutual experience when, like, the audience, or when the artist is doing it from a pure place of love, and then the audience is there experiencing that. It's
Yeah.
just such a nice flow, and that's always the goal for me at least.
That's it's interesting that you bring that up because that's kind of the magic for me that happens at festivals as an audience member, right? Like I've always thought that bands play a little bit differently at a festival environment because of the environment, and there's other bands there, and there's in this genre there's a lot of collaboration and whatnot. But it is that kind of circular flow between the band and the audience. The audience is giving back to the band is giving to the audience, and for me, that's what puts me in that like meditative state you talked about, right? Like you don't even need hallucinogens. It's almost like you just get locked in and it's this total presence. How do you guys experience that? Like what is it like for you? Because you're playing, you're improving, but when the audience is feeding back in the right way and you're feeling that energy from the audience, where does it put you in a mental and emotional state? Like are you present or are you just going with it? Talk a little bit about where you guys end up when that happens.
Yeah, it's a really interesting line because, like, from night to night, some nights it's like we played everything well, we executed all the songs, but didn't have that special quality that maybe the next night did. And for me, I obviously think of the Grateful Dead a lot because Transcendence and like, everybody being a part of the experience was very big for them. And then String Cheese Incident was one of the first jam bands that I didn't get to see Jerry Garcia live,
Yeah.
so I didn't actually get that experience. But String Cheese was the first like true jam band I got to see. And I forgot about all my problems, I forgot about
Mhm.
everything in the world, and I was just there, like, feeling the music, and it was really amazing, and, like, I heard, Bill Nurshi from String Cheese Incident talking about it. I like his metaphor. He was like, the band starts with the ball, and then they throw it to the audience, and then when the audience throws it back,
Oh
the band
yeah.
throws it back, and then when they keep doing it, it gets to a point where nobody knows who has the ball. It's
Yeah.
just like everybody's together. And I think that's a fun metaphor, and for me, I have kind of like my analogy is like a circuit. I think of, like, if all of the band members are purely present, listening to each other, aware that they're on stage, not thinking about any outside things like, "Oh, I've got bills coming up," or "Does the audience like this?"
Yeah.
When all 5 members of the circuit are on, then it creates this feeling where, like, it's almost effortless, and we experienced that at Grass Fire this last time
Okay. Yeah.
because we got up and we're like, let's see what we can do. And we finish our first song and it's just pure. The audience gave it back. And it's almost like that instant recharge. Then we get that and we're like, when you feel like the audience is rooting for you, it's so much easier to take a solo than if in your head you're thinking, "Oh no, am I good enough? Did I just take that solo? Is anybody out there thinking, this guy's voice sucks?" Or like, there's so many
Yeah.
thoughts and things that come in that take you away. But to get back to what you're saying, the present moment, I think, is like if you can truly be there and be present, then that's the most real thing you can do. I don't know if you've ever read any Eckhart Tolle.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love Eckhart. My wife loves Eckhart Tolle too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get back into it again, because, like, the first time I read it, the concept of, like, primary and secondary purpose hit
Mhm.
me so hard, and, he basically says, like, "Your secondary purpose is what you're doing from day to day, your job, your this, your that, your ego identification. Your primary purpose is to be present.
Yeah,
Once you're present, you're aware and you can act, with a pure mind. You can be in a like you can be in a like a surface level conversation that seems mundane, but if you're present, then you're there experiencing it and you are fulfilling your primary
yeah,
purpose. And as far as music goes, that's a great way for me to think about it. I feel like it's a very sacred experience.
yeah,
And I feel like, Billy Strings said something about this a couple years back about how he feels like if you're not fully present, you're almost doing a disservice to the audience. Like people are choosing with their time, which time is valuable. They're choosing to be present at your show, to be there for whatever sacrifices they made. So like the highest honor you could give them is to put everything you have into it,
Mhm.
you know, and that's kind of my motto when it comes to performance. No matter what's happening throughout my day, when I get up there, I try to turn off that thinking brain and let the music flow through in like a meditative way. Um, and it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
like there's so many things, and there's the business side of things, and so many things that go into like actually playing a show. Uh, but for me, like if you can get there mentally and drop that ego identity and thinking brain, then I mean, not to get too deep, but like if you think like when you learn about the brain, like the conscious brain can only do like one or two tasks at a time. And
Okay.
we think so hard about like what we're doing in the moment, but the subconscious brain is it has all the memories and all the things you've ever learned in your life. And at its core, we don't even know like we're still learning about the brain. But to me, like, you know, these great athletes, great performers, great anything, they talk a lot about the flow
The
state.
flow state. Yeah, I forget
You
the name of
know,
the
like
author that did that one, but yeah.
exactly. And
Mm.
so like that concept resonates a lot with me. I studied philosophy and psychology, and I love the brain.
Yeah.
I love thinking about the fact that our subconscious has everything in it, and our conscious brain is oftentimes blocking the ability of that stuff to flow through.
Yeah.
You know, like the conscious brain is like, do thing. And we've all had that experience where we're like, you know, doing something like playing tennis or, you know, jogging or doing some like refined task and we think about it and then we mess up and then like,
Right.
you know, but it's like, you know, like I've played when it comes to music and the mandolin, I know music theory well. I've played scales up and down the neck. And so if I get on stage and think about it, I start messing up. But if I just let it flow through, it's always better.
Yeah.
And when the full band is in that place where it's just like unfolding in the moment, I mean, it's pretty incredible to think about five individual human beings perceiving time at the exact same
Yeah.
rate. And like, you know, sometimes I'm like, hey guys, I know you're like wondering if the audience liked it or if that piece was challenging enough. But think about the fact that we all chose to play the same chord at the same time in the same way. Like
Yeah.
that alone is a microcosm of the fact that we are all interconnected.
Yeah. Well, and that's the amazing thing is when it's live, as an audience member, you see it. You see the nonverbal communication, this like you're on the same wavelength. Like I've seen multiple bands do this where it's like, how did you guys know that he was going to go into that? Well,
Yeah,
you don't know, you just know, right? Like, and the
yeah,
audience feels it and then they go wild because it's like, holy shit, what just happened?
yeah,
It's pretty amazing. You guys, well, and going back too, it's got to be challenging to get in that state night after night. You guys have had a great tour. Romp Festival was in June. You guys were at Grassfire. You got Watermelon Pickers Festival coming up, and a bunch of other dates. What are some of like? Can you think of any like really interesting or raw experiences where something like that happened at any one of these festivals? You mentioned Grassfire, but what else? Like, where have you been in that state?
yeah. So Winter Wondergrass in
Okay.
Steamboat Springs,
Yeah.
very similar situation where we were playing two like shorter sets between main stage acts and we were like right there on like the kind of like side stage but still like you know packed audience kind of new to us and you know you get into it and everything feels right and the audience gives it back. Yeah, most shows that we do in Asheville feel really good. There's always seems to be, I mean, we got our support systems here and you know it's a vortex. So there's like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a whole different thing. But, it's like it definitely feels like these festivals that resonate with our, kind of values and musical, um, goals seem to help get there a little bit quicker. Um, Raleigh has always been a great place for us, Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, we've had some of our best shows there. Um, Festivals are definitely like, I mean, I envisioned this band as a festival goer. Like I was going to tons of festivals in my 20s, eating it up, just loved the community and the environment. And, Fireside Collective kind of it's a nod to music festivals.
yeah.
It's a nod to that magical late night campfire experience where there's
Mhm.
guys playing music here, there's friends hanging out here, there's people that just met over here, there's a guy passed out in a chair over here. But
Yeah,
everybody's together and nobody's the most important. The fire is the center, keeping us all warm, but all of us are there experiencing life together. And to me, that is such a magical place. And I kind of wanted to put together a band that captured that spirit. And it's been a journey for sure, but lately it's felt like we're actually, we're getting on these awesome festivals. Winter Wondergrass was so sick, and
yeah.
um, everything in Colorado is always fun, and Grass Fire up in Ohio a couple weeks ago is so fun, and we've got Bender Jamboree in Vegas
Oh,
coming
cool.
up.
That's gonna be a good one. That's
Yeah,
got everybody in it. Yeah,
yeah, and we're doing Jam Cruise next year,
yeah,
and, of course, Watermelon is coming up as well, and that's like, we know a lot of people up in that area, and it seems like a really like, we've heard such great, reviews of that festival for, like, over the years, and we're extremely stoked to get up there and be a part of that. It feels like it has a similar vibe to what we're trying to put out there.
yeah. It's I'm this will be my first time going to Watermelon. It's ironic that Stacy and I actually went to college together and didn't even know each other at the
Oh,
time. We
wow.
went to the same school, but I've heard that that is one of those festivals, like you said, that it's the shows are great, but the pics that happen in the parking lot and the campfires afterwards are really where the magic is. Will you guys be able to go out? Will you be there long enough to go out and enjoy that and have some experiences just picking around the fire?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we get closer to festivals, sometimes somebody's gotta jet home or do this or that, but right now, that's the only, uh, show that we have that weekend.
Okay.
So I think what will most likely happen is, like, half of us will stay and hang out for most or all of the festival. We got a bunch of friends up there who have offered us lodging, and you know, we've just our merch guy Scooter has an RV, so he'll probably be there the whole weekend.
Okay.
Mm.
Cool.
But most likely, a handful of us will stay and pick because I have a personal theory that like you absorb that. Like, I've
Okay.
found that when I go to a festival and I just show up and play my set and go home and don't experience the festival, it doesn't do much for the soul, and I've found that, like, the ones that, like, we stay up all night and pick around the fire and
Yeah.
meet new people, it, like, grows the community, and it shows that we're not just there for the paycheck or for the recognition of being on stage, like, we are there for what these festivals are really designed for, like to bring us together, to celebrate the beautiful things in life,
Yeah.
art, community. And I feel like it's almost like, like if you had like a video game, like a bar of like your
Yeah.
your spiritual fulfillment. I feel like when we do festivals, it increases that, and
Yeah.
when I go on stage, I feel so much more authentic, and, I feel like I'm doing it for the right reasons, and so for that reason, I will probably be sticking around for a couple days, and I'm sure that I'll get a couple other people as well.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Sorry, can you hear
That's
that?
all right. Yeah, go for it.
It's
It's all right. It's a podcast. You're allowed to do those things, right? Like we're all busy people. No, but it's exactly what you were saying, though. Yeah, it is. Like I like the way that you put that with that kind of like spirituality bar, because you leave the festival and on the drive home, I always feel so charged, right? Like, and
yeah,
it's and over the next week, that bar will kind of go down a little bit, and then it's like, when can I get to the next festival to replenish it, right?
yeah.
So you guys, and real quick too, you guys have a lot of dates coming up, but you also have a new single out. Tell me a little bit about the single, and is that going to lead into a new album?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we've actually kind of stretched this single cycle out for a while. We released Whippoorwill last September, and then I think Down in the Holler was in like March, and then we released something back in May,
okay,
I think. And then so this Friday we're releasing Memphis in the Morning,
okay.
which is a tune I wrote that I'm really excited about. I feel like pretty stoked about how it, you know, grew from like a bluegrass song into more of an Americana kind of like highway driving song. And then we're planning to release something this fall, full album, first album with drums, chance
Nice.
to really like, people will hop on our Spotify and listen to us and they're like expecting, this maybe bluegrass performance. And then we get up there and we're like, deep in a funk groove or like lost in a trance jam, and then they're like, "Wait, what?" So now we'll have an album that can
Yeah,
be like, "Okay, they grew from bluegrass into, more of a rootsy jam band."
yeah, yeah. And I
So
I love that bluegrass is evolving. Bluegrass and even country, if you think about like what Donato's doing and those guys evolving into
oh,
dance
yeah.
music, which is
Yeah.
great. Like
Yeah.
that's like the best you can get. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck. Again, Watermelon Pickers Festival, that's September 4th through the 6th in Berryville, Virginia. It's at the fairgrounds, the Clark County Fairgrounds there. I wish you guys the best of luck at that. And I do hope you get time to like hang out and enjoy it and get the vibe from the festival. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's our goal, and we can't wait to play that one. It was awesome talking with you.
Yeah.
Appreciate, being a part of the community, spreading the word.
Yeah. Thanks for being on, brother. You have a good one.
Absolutely. You
Cheers.
too.
Hey y'all, it's Drury from D-Law Coffee Company. Let's take it from the beginning. Hi, my name is Drury Anderson, and I'm a 21-year-old musician from Alabama. Music has always been a part of me, and I'm super lucky to be traveling around touring with my best friends. Whether it's playing music or putting together something for my friends, I've always been passionate about the power of a shared experience. As some of you know, touring around the country involves a lot, and to me, good coffee is essential to staying fueled while on the road. After consulting with friends in the business, I decided to give it a go. My goal is simple: get coffee to people all over who need it the most. So whether you play music, love music, or your passion lies somewhere else, D-Law Coffee is here for you. Fuel the music.
And that's it, neighbors. That's all we have time for today. But I do want to send special thanks to Jesse and for the folks at Fireside Collective for taking time to chat today. I've seen them at the Caverns. I've seen them at Winter Wondergrass. I had to miss them at 48, unfortunately, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing them play at the Watermelon Pickers Festival. They're playing that festival Thursday night, and that's September 4th, again, Berryville, Virginia, at the Clark County Fairgrounds. If you are anywhere within driving distance, you should absolutely get some tickets and check out this festival, because they are one of many, many great bands that are going to be playing. If you are a fan of the show, you might have already been to the website at musicfestivalspodcast.com, but take a chance to visit back there and see some of the new updates that are going to be coming in the future weeks, in a couple weeks here. We've recently built a festival documentaries page that's going to house all the different festival docs that we do. And right now you can find documentaries for Dark Star Jubilee, All Good Now, and 4848. That is the trifesta presented by All Good Presents. Coming soon is going to be a documentary from Incarceration. I'm hoping to have that live next next week, and that's going to be a full-length documentary because we got a lot of interviews and footage, and it was just a hell of a good time. And then we're going to be doing upcoming documentaries on Watermelon Pickers Festival, Lazy Jam #7, and maybe even some more. So make sure to check back and look at that. While you're there, also look at the podcast page. This houses not only the audio podcasts, but all the video episodes in one place. So you can very easily go back and find those. You can also get ticket contests on the win tickets tab. There's going to be more coming soon there. And then soon to come, we're going to have a dedicated brand partners page. We're starting to bring on some brand partners, including D-Law Coffee. And so you'll be able to find more information about the folks that actually support this show and help me keep the cameras rolling and keep doing this because it's expensive and time consuming, and sometimes you need support. But while you are there, make sure that you subscribe to the Neighborhood Monthly newsletter. This is where you're going to get all kinds of different announcements on festivals, some super secret insider news, behind the scenes stuff, interviews, and then discount codes from our affiliate partners. And those include Outdoorsy.com, Inakim Electric Scooters, Melted Mind Designs, Cast Magic, CapCut, Opus Clip, Hoem, and the Hoem iSteady M7 Gimbal, and Custom Made Casino. And as always, I want to send special thanks to Drury Anderson and D-Law Coffee for their support of the show. It helps keep those lights on and those cameras running. So definitely pleased to have D-Law on board. And check out their coffee. Make sure that you drink some D-Law coffee and feel the music. Next week, we are going to have that Incarceration Festival recap, including the documentary. It was a 50,000 person festival with Slipknot and Marilyn Manson and Five Finger Death Punch and Falling in Reverse. They were probably my favorite of the whole festival. So definitely check that out. There's lots of interviews, including a brand new band that's out of Berklee College of Music. Now, we've talked a lot about Berklee College of Music through the bluegrass scene and the Mountain Grass Unit guys and, all the different artists that have come out of there. This is the first metal band that I've actually seen come out of Berklee, which is really cool. Their name was Archon Theory. So make sure to look for the documentary and their interview and check out the sights and sounds of Incarceration. It was badass. If you are listening to the audio podcast, first, thank you very much. Make sure to leave a rating while you're there, whether it's on Spotify or Apple. But then head on over to the YouTube channel for a bunch of different videos that aren't featured in the podcast, these weekly episodes. You can also leave comments to me there. I try to reply back to everything. Or you can follow me on Instagram at NeighborNateFests, Neighbor N8 Fests, or just Nate Riggs. I'm either one. And you can find the Music Festival's podcast page on Facebook by just simply searching there. But I do appreciate every single one of you that watches this show and all of you who reach out to leave comments and let me know how I'm doing and even suggest festivals. We've had a lot of people recently that are pointing me to festivals that I've never even heard of. So if you're one of those folks, thank you very much. That's great support of the show. But that's all I got for you this week, folks. As always, I am your host, Neighbor Nate, and I hope to be your neighbor at a festival very soon.